So I got to know my mom's parents well, my maternal grandparents, and two things about them. One, they were married a really long time, and two, they loved cruises. So when they were getting older, my mom said, "Look, if you and your husband will go on the cruise, I will pay half the amount, but just don't let your grandparents off the cruise because, if they get sick or they can't figure out how to get back on, I don't know what's going to happen. So that's your only job is just make sure they don't get off the cruise." So that I was like, okay. And my mom had told me that they kind of had this shtick, and I don't know if you've ever gone on a cruise, but they always have a newlywed game. And so if you're interested in participating in the newlywed game, you all go into the auditorium, and the married couple who's been married the longest always gets one of the spots on the newlywed game. So we kind of usher my grandparents in, and they're asking how long everyone's been married, and my grandparents aren't raising their hand. And my husband Mike, who's in the room, my grandfather's name Abe. Like, "Abe, aren't you going to raise your hand?" He's like, "No, no, no." And they're asking like how many people were married 50 years, and they keep going on and on. And this couple thinks they're definitely going to get on because they're married like 60 years or something. And just as they're going to say, "Oh, okay, well, you're married the longest, you get to be on the show," my grandfather's like 71 years, so he got on the show, and they would get on every time because of this. And I don't know if you've been on enough cruises, but they actually ask you the same questions every time. And my grandparents basically had a shtick, except for my grandmother was a little out of it. So if you remember the newlywed game, they ask like the husband the questions, and then the wife comes in. So um, the first question, well, this was one of the questions that I guess they asked my grandmother, like, of all your friends, which one does your husband, or relatives, which one does your husband hate the most? And my grandfather's answer was always like, "Oh, I can't think of any because they're all dead." And they would get a big laugh. And then one of the other questions was, where's the most unusual place that you've had sex? So I got to know the answer for my grandparents was in a theater box in France watching this Folies Bergère. And one time, yes, my grandfather was trying to explain to my sister like how this all happened, and we were in hotel rooms, and my sister was like, "Okay, Grandpa, we'll see you in the morning." Like, we really don't want to know what happened. But the last question always was, how would you describe your sex life? And they had different movies, and I don't remember all the movies, but my grandfather always picked Mission Impossible, right, as his movie. But my grandmother, she was not completely, but she was pretty out of it. So the host really wanted my grandparents to win. So he says to her, what movie best describes your sex life? Mm, 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 or Mission Impossible? And she seriously goes, "Mm?" Like, no, and he thought that was like the shtick, and he was like rolling. But the food for thought part, if you're wondering where this is going, is then we would go every night to dinner, and we sat next to my grandparents, and they would also replay this on the closed, circuit television. So a lot of people saw this, and a lot of people came up to them every night at dinner and asked their marriage advice, and they loved that, and it was really wonderful. And it's just nice to have grandparents that were married for so long happily to each other. So that's my food for thought. Thank you.